The International Festival of Arts and Ideas is created and produced on the traditional lands of the Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Schaghticoke, Golden Hill Paugussett, Niantic, and the Quinnipiac, in the land we all call home, Connecticut. We hope that from wherever you are, you take a moment to acknowledge and honor the native people whose land you are on and the history of the place you are in.
The International Festival of Arts and Ideas stands in solidarity with Black and Brown communities and other groups who are targeted and abused by unjust systems of oppression. We support all movements working to decenter white voices and dismantle white supremacy. We are actively seeking to dismantle systemic racism, and we raise our voices with those in our community who are already engaged in this vital work. We commit to working alongside you to create transformative change in New Haven and in our global community.
Hello, everyone. Ooh, that was a nice, loud voice. My name is Shelly Kiala. I'm the Executive Director of the International Festival of Arts and Ideas. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you. I am speaking to you from our first time, I believe, doing Ideas on the Yale Repertory stage, which is very exciting. Thank you for those of you who found your way here to us. And for those of you tuning in online, we hope you have just as much fun. We are honored that all of our Ideas events in the series are sponsored by the Connecticut Humanities Organization, and we have lots of support for the festival as a whole. Our marquee sponsors are Yale, the National Endowment for the Arts, the City of New Haven, Telemundo and NBC Connecticut, the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, and CT Public, and we're just so grateful for all of their support. We also get significant support from the state of Connecticut, thanks to the work of citizens like you and our elected officials, and lots of support from individuals. You make it possible for us to be here. This is a free event. It's free online for the many joining us, and it's free for those of you in person. So this is actually just kind of the beginning of our Ideas series. We have a number of additional talks coming up right in this very space. You can find all of the Ideas talks for the Festival of 2022 here at Yale Repertory Theater at York and Chapel through the 26th of June. We also have a lot of things going on the green. You are welcome to enjoy all of them. We have free programming happening Wednesday through Sunday of the next 2 weeks, and indoor performances as well. Dallas Black Dance Theater is performing just around the corner tonight at University Theater, and we still have tickets available. And we also have tickets available to our iconic fashion show and to Parable of the Sower, and to some of our tours and food events as well. You are welcome to join us online at artidea.org and get the full schedule. For now, though, we are going to enter into a really beautiful and sacred space with some friends that I have been lucky enough to get to know over the last several months here. And they are going to speak to you about what it means to cultivate community through entrepreneurship. And when I say that these are folks who know what they're talking about in both cultivating community and entrepreneurship, that is an understatement. Please welcome and get ready to receive what they have for you, Erik Clemons, Jason Sobocinski, and Alisha Crutchfield-McLean. Give them a round of applause.
I'm Erik Clemons. First, I want to thank Shelly Kiala and the entire International Festival of Arts and Ideas staff and family for allowing me to be on stage and give voice to the things that I care about. There's nothing more that I care about than business, entrepreneurship, and community. So this is a dream for me. And thank you all for stopping whatever you were doing in the course of your day to be here with us for this, I believe, really sacred conversation with to friends who are successful in their own right. What I want to do is talk to you all about your businesses and then talk about community as it relates to those businesses. So Jason, I mean, you have what, 10 businesses at this point?
It's 7.
Yes, can you share what those businesses are and kind of enlighten us?
Sure. So we've got Olmo, which is the former Casius. It's now a bagel shop. We call it the Bagelry. We also do catering. I've got Crispy Melty, which is the cheese truck, Casius cheese truck. So we do grilled cheese sandwiches. I've got the Mystic Cheese Company. We are a cheese manufacturer up in Groton, Connecticut. I've got Ordinary, which is an awesome bar. Condé Nast Travel 2016, top 50 bars in the world.
Right.
That's a good one. We like that one, especially if you like cocktails. Haven Hot Chicken, which opened in 2020 of October. Good time to open a restaurant. We're actually opening another one up on Saturday up in Orange, Connecticut. And then, Black Hog Brewing Company. We make beer. We made a beer for the Arts and Ideas folks here. It's really good. It's a lemon lager.
Yes.
A lot of breath.
Yeah.
For you.
Continuum Distilling. We're in Waterbury. It's lovely there. We take beer waste and we distill it into a unique spirit. It's quite delicious. Who am I missing? There's others, but I'm not going to talk about those.
We'll come back to you. And out of all of that, I was talking to Jason in the back. I missed the cheese truck so much. I used to chase the truck, to be honest with you. So to the extent that you can try and bring that back to New Haven, I would definitely be, and my daughters will be appreciative too.
Deal.
And secondly, we have Alisha Crutchfield, who I had the great pleasure and honor of meeting, I think maybe a couple months ago, or maybe not even a year ago. And I happened into her store, and it's so much more than a store. I always call Bloom an experience. But Alisha, in your own words, can you talk about, one, how you got here and what Bloom is?
So Bloom is a community gathering center. It is a community center reimagined. We house a flower and gift shop, a retail space, a wellness room, cafe, and event space, which has been booming for us right now. It's a category that we always wanted to do but didn't anticipate it just popping off so fast, and so I'm very excited about that. And it is an experience, Erik. It is a multi-sensory experience. It is an urban oasis, right? It is a place where we celebrate each other, where we celebrate every day through the products that we offer, through the services that we provide. And I'm just grateful to be in the space. And woof, I want to do a lot, but I'm just focused on Bloom right now. But I would love to be where Jason is in terms of what we do with Bloom and where we go with Bloom. It's not just a one concept, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, I really want to do more for not only the community that I'm in, but the community that I'm from. I am from Boston, Massachusetts, and from a neighborhood that is not like the neighborhood that I live now. And I learned from the community centers that I frequented in my younger years in Boston. And I just want to create a concept, this sort of microeconomy of sorts through this business model that I have, and share it with the world, to be very honest. In other communities, communities that can certainly thrive and excel from this type of concept, but also a place where the local community, the members of the community thrive and excel and just, reap the benefits of their creativity and their vision, whether it's gifting, flowers, whatever. That's what Bloom is, and that's what I want to do with it, and that's why I'm here.
Nice. Awesome. So, now we can talk.
Yes.
I have, quite frankly, the great pleasure of expressing the freedom expressing a freedom in order to create the community that I want to be in. And I want to hear from you both, like how are you thinking about community? Because community means different things to different people. And in the era that we are in, where racism and poverty are heightened, right? Community means something very different to me than most people. And so I want to hear, as it relates also to your business efforts, how are you defining community and cultivating community in a way that enhances both spheres of thought in life? Yes.
I'll go real quick.
You want to go?
I go.
I can go. If you want.
I'm going.
You go.
I include the community in the decisions, some of the decisions that I make at Bloom. And what I mean by that is even before we opened, I had the ideas of all the things that we offer, but I still wasn't quite sure. And so while we were renovating, painting, et cetera, I would ask community members, within the immediate community, what they thought, what they wanted to see, what their needs were, what their desires were. So for me, community is, for the type of business that I'm running, obviously my immediate community in Westville, New Haven, but it is open for all. And community at this stage in life right now, for me, is I'm uplifting my community through the products, again, and the services that I provide. I'm very conscious and very meticulous and intentional about the products that I curate and the services that I provide, and most of them are made by local residents from the community or neighboring communities. So that's community for me right now.
Okay.
Right? Using what, Bloom is a place where people are going to be uplifted and celebrated and thought about. And so by uplifting my community through that way, I'm making a difference or helping.
All right, I want to come back to that.
Okay.
So I could talk for an hour about everything, because that's what I do. We use a certain lexicon at all my businesses. We don't have customers. We have guests. And so it's really important that when we bring people into our space or just give them our products or services, that we treat them as guests. I think that's a first step in really, here, come into my community. This is my space and you're part of it. So that's a lexicon that we use. We talk about sustainability at all of my businesses. And I tell people all the time, there's two types of sustainability, right? There's environmental sustainability, that kind of green. And then there's monetary sustainability, that kind of green. And you're in business. We are all in business. At the end of the day, we need to pay people, and we need to pay ourselves. We need to make money. I think that when you invest in your community as a business, the community gives back to you. So we don't do traditional print and press. We don't do that type of marketing. Our marketing is to get out into the community and to give back. We were just at the Eli Whitney Museum, an amazing place that just cultivates community through exploration and discovery and science, and just a place for children to just be children and learn, right? What's it have to do with flowers and food and cocktails? They have a big event every year, the Leonardo Challenge. We were both there. You did an amazing job.
Likewise.
Thank you. I just put out some bagels and some beer. I think that doing these type of events, and I'm constantly talking to other business people, stop spending money on print and press, start giving back. We never actually donate cash, because I don't have a lot of cash. We donate our product, we donate our services. It lets us get in the faces of the people that we're serving and meet them on a different level than when they come in and they're a guest. Yeah. I think that is a great way to cultivate community.
So let me ask you this, beyond the transactions, right? And I'll share a quick anecdote. I remember still doing community engagement, right? I have a very large project that my team and I are working on the Dixwell Plaza. It's a $220 million development project. And early on, we had watercolors, we had these huge design boards, and I was just so excited that I could show the community of Dixwell what we were going to do. And so I bought all of the boards and you know, and they were colorful, and we were, you know, we had our lines down on what we were going to deliver based on what the community said they wanted and needed. And I got smashed.
Yikes.
Really. And went back again with the same stuff, thinking, all right, they were having a bad day, right? Because they're going to like me. They're going to like me because I think I'm likable, and I'm bringing help, and I look like them, right? So, you know, I had my own bias with my own people. What I realized and found out, I made a huge mistake that I talk about openly all the time, that I was presenting the project more than I was presenting myself. And they didn't care much about the project as much as they cared about knowing who I was, right? Because I felt like an infiltrator to them first, not a collaborator. And so beyond the transaction, right? Because I know the food is good, the products are good, but I've learned that folks don't just come to a restaurant because the food is good. There's something different. Folks just don't come to Bloom to get skincare products.
Right.
So I want to talk about that and how you connect that kind of adaptive, I call spiritual essence.
I mean, I have the chills just thinking about
All right.
it.
So,
As you
so I'm
talk.
not even going to finish. Go ahead.
I call what you're talking about culture.
Yeah.
Right.
I call it business culture, because I can't physically be in all of these businesses at the same time, or I would be divorced 6 times. So I call it culture, and that culture doesn't necessarily come from me, but it comes from everyone in each of these organizations getting together and aligning on, this is how we want to be. This is how we want to treat people. This is how our standards are set. And you start to see that you attract people that have the same type of culture likenesses. They you know, the values. I do a lot of mentoring, and I have a lot of mentors, and we're constantly talking about brand values. What are your brand values? How are you setting them? Well, I want to make money. That's not a brand value. It's not a brand value. What do you stand for? That's a brand value.
What is your conscious culture?
Yes.
Right? That is what I'm following right now, a conscious culture. And it's a mix for me, right? This customer service that we're speaking of. And customer service for me is huge, right? Because it is why people return to Bloom. It is, you know, I mean, we have great products, but it was always about creating this experience where, again, uplifted. People walk in, whether they buy something or not, and my husband would kill me if I keep saying that because we need to make money, but whether they buy something or not, I just want people to walk out feeling uplifted, even for that moment, right? So customer service is very huge for me. I try to remember everyone's name, but it's a combination of professionalism and ethics, you know, human ethics and authenticity, right? I mean, a part of success, and I'm going to digress a little bit because I want to offer just a tidbit that I learned at ConnCORP 10th anniversary the other night. Carlton Highsmith listed this 6 secret sauce ingredients, and I get asked that question all the time. How are you so how are you so successful so fast? What are you doing? What's your secret sauce? And I always start with customer service, but then I think about the 6 ingredients that Carlton Highsmith mentioned in his speech. And one is the community, people. 2 is funding. And I'll say, when it comes to funding, I want to encourage small business owners, established and or aspiring. Funding, you know, can be difficult, but if you just have a few dollars, $500, versus having thousands, keep pushing through at what it is that you're trying to do. Use what you have to fund your business, your idea, your dream, and then work on the funding as you go. 3rd is team members. Right? Team members, making sure our team members are also infused with this idea and this mindset of customer service, right? When people walk into this space, you need to be present and you need to show them love, right? At all times. I shouldn't be the only one knowing that the first name of people when they walk in. I shouldn't be the only one that people want to see either, right? It's about the team and all of us being aligned. The fourth was advisory board, right? And mentors. You remember when he said that was his fourth ingredient to the secret sauce to success? And that's this. This is an example of an advisory board, right? Like I talk with Erik often about, you know, business planning and development, and so he's my ghost advisory board member, and Jason too, and Shelly too, and Denise. So the fifth was innovation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Staying ahead of the post, being creative, not being afraid to do the things that may not seem realistic, you know, but again, keeping the customer in mind, right? And the sixth was urgency and immediacy in this list of 6 ingredients towards success. And urgency and immediacy, I want to touch on that because I know I am moving rapid. You all have seen it, right? And I'm trying to strike while the iron is hot, while my brain is in motion to produce products and services that appeal to my community, right? That just infuses into my community. So brings me back to the whole customer service, right? Professionalism, professional strategy meets authenticity. That's it for me.
No, I wasn't stopping you. I was agreeing with you. So I have a lot of questions now, right? And you inspired a whole lot of questions. You too, Jason. One is, and I want to come back to the tension. You mentioned your husband, right? In the tension between loving and profit, right? But we'll come back to that in a minute to both of y'all.
We don't have to.
Because I feel the same tension, right? To love folk so much while at the same time leading a profit revenue generating entity where, you know, there's a tension there between technical and adaptive. But I also want to talk about how you're building community through your business ventures and attracting people who normally wouldn't come to your spaces. And I say that because, you know, last Saturday, I came down to the Green to the symphony, and I don't even like the symphony, right? But I thought it was amazing. Not just the music, but the energy, the spirit of the people. And here I am, someone who probably would not have gone, but I wanted and needed to be around people. And so, and I saw, first person I saw, my dear friend Elsie, who I see now. And it was amazing, but a lot of people in the communities that I serve, they're not coming to the Green to hear the symphony. It's a hard pull. One, because maybe they may not be interested in the music. Two, because they've never been invited. And so, you know, what I love about what Shelly's doing, she is giving out invitations to all people in all communities, right?
Right.
So how do you, through your business ventures, pull in people who normally wouldn't even come to your restaurants, Jason?
So we're right now, Olmo, for example, we've broken out and we're doing some farmers markets.
Wow.
And so we're doing bagels at the City Seed farmers markets. And it's been great because we get exposed to a whole new set of folks, different. We didn't even know you existed. You know, all right, cool. But we're also we're reaching out to other communities outside of New Haven now. Okay. So we're doing farmers markets all around the state, and we're selling bagels. And it's good because people like bagels. Sometimes we don't sell out. So we've got farmers to the left and to the right of us. You got pigs, you got cows, here's some bagels. Doesn't, you know, what does it happen? It happens that we are now starting to buy some products from these farmers to then put back into. We would never have known them. They would never have known that we do bagels. So like that's a new way to get out there. Getting out into other communities is really important because our community becomes tight after a while, and there's only so many people. We're lucky here in New Haven because we got a pretty diverse community that cycles through every 4 to 6 years. And then they leave New Haven and leave us, sadly. But it's nice to be able to have new people all the time and to be exposed to new people. I can say we need to get out into more communities. We need to do more of that with all of our businesses because it's hard to break out of your shell and to have the courage. And that's the biggest thing in entrepreneurship,
Yes.
right? You gotta be brave because it's not gonna work out 90% of the time. And that's okay because that 10% is gonna be phenomenally successful. But you gotta have courage to get out there and meet new people, get into new communities, try new things, innovate.
Yeah.
That's the biggest.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
We think Alisha.
I spent a good amount of the last 10 months, because we are 10 months old. Can you believe it? I mean,
That's
whoa.
incredible.
Like,
That's incredible. It's really incredible.
I mean, wow. It's been like a whirlwind. But I really focused on the guests, the customer, that enters our space from the day before I opened, right? And so I use social media as a way to pull in other community members by showcasing the community members that come into the space. And not just to show that this is who was there, this is what they bought. Let me be clear, it's not that, y'all. It is a call to action back to this person, right? This person may have a business. This person may be an educator. This person may be a child in a community that needs some upliftment. And by us providing that call to action back to this person's social media page, we're encouraging other community members to get to know that person. And that person may not be their neighbor, right? That person may not live in Westville where I am currently. So social media has been very, very instrumental in the gathering of folk in and outside of my immediate community. And other than that, goes back to customer service, talking to people that come into the space because they in turn leave and spread the word, right? And then that word keeps traveling on and on and on. So being authentic, being warm and welcome, being myself in the space, providing this level of customer service and this call to action back to the guests is how I've been able to share and welcome others.
Got it.
Inviting others, I'm sorry, before I say, inviting, because I've noticed that. I'm not from New Haven. I'm from Boston. I lived in New York for about 15, 16 years. I met my husband who was from New Haven. So I've been here for about 5 years, and the first 2 were not great. Didn't know anyone. It was hard. I'm a serial entrepreneur, very creative. It was hard to find people in my community, the Black community, with a level of, I don't want to say this and come off wrong. It was hard to find people that I aligned with who were at a place in their life where they were looking for a level of excellence that I am. And so it was tough not being invited because I wasn't from here, having to be vetted by others. It wasn't until I opened Bloom that I started meeting more people, I would say, in my suite. And while that's awesome, and I'm grateful for the relationships that have been formed, I wish it was there prior to me opening Bloom, because I probably would have opened Bloom the moment I got here, but it took those couple of years to really get to know the space. And I'm still getting acclimated, but you all, my community, my folk have been extremely supportive. So I'm just reciprocating.
And the pizza's better here.
Oh, no. The pizza's better here, he said, y'all. It's okay.
Well, I think that, and I understand what you were saying about, the first 2 years here and how it was difficult to identify people who had the same values as you, who may look like you, right? And they don't have non-aligned values. because they're Black, right? But their non-aligned values are based on the conditions that they have been entrenched in, right? And not to say that those values are bad, but that is why I think it's so important that we widen our love net, right? And give invitation to people, while at the same time accept invitation from others.
Right.
So I just wanted to say that, and I want to talk about failure, right? Because we have to, right? So you really inspired me to say this, and I'm a huge advocate for failure, right? I believe that if you don't fail, you don't learn, and if you don't learn, you can't teach. And I'm into really teaching and hopefully developing folk to live out a life of potential and prosperity. And so just based on my own experiences. And so this idea of courage, it resonates with me, Jason and Alisha. So can we talk about some failures?
You want to go?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of failure. I have a lot. Everyone's like, "You're so successful." I'm like, "Yeah, because you only see the stuff
Right.
that makes it." I mean, I'm riddled with failure.
Wow.
No, it's great. You have to embrace it. I tell this to my kids all the time. If you don't fail, you've learned nothing. No one has learned anything from success.
That's right. Wow.
That's real.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
I mean, you learn from failure, you learn from pain, you learn from despair. Like, that's how we grow. So failure started, I tried to do in college, freshman year. That was my biggest failure. I signed up to do a college pro painters, and I went all in. All right, I had 4 crews. Each crew had 3 guys. I hired them. I probably booked easily 50 jobs over the summer. I had no idea what I was doing. A month in, I was losing thousands of dollars, and I knew that I had to shut it down. And I had to. It was a franchise. I had to buy out of it.
Wow.
It was a massive failure that I paid 3-4 years to dig out of. And, I just remember talking to my parents about it, and they're like, "Yeah, it sucked. Like, you owe a lot of money." And they didn't bail me out. I had to borrow the money from other people.
When did you know to pivot? I think that's really important too. So I'm sorry.
It was the taste.
It was, yeah.
It was the taste. I mean, people who are addicted to gambling, if you study their brains, they don't have a spike when they win. They have a spike before they place the bet.
Yeah.
Like, that means something. Like, I'm a gambler. I don't gamble with money because I like money way too much to gamble it away. I gamble with my time and my experience. And so, I say yes often. That's actually something that I'm learning to say no. And it's been good for my work-life balance, which is boring. We're not talking about that. I love failing because I love what I learned from it. And I love to tell the stories of failure. That was one of many. When you dig out of a failure and you're successful, it's that much better.
That is the best.
Right?
Right?
And I mean, if you've never been dumped, you gotta get dumped. That's a great experience too. You can write poetry, and then all of a sudden you meet somebody new and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that last person was a turd." Right? And that's the same with business. It's like, what was I thinking? What was I doing? You look back and you chuckle and you're like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to do that one again." But you're going to fail again. And I think you should just continue to fail because you continue to grow and learn. It's the best thing. If you're not failing, then you're a wimp. That's it.
Is there a portion of humility in that, you think? Right? The ability to fail?
I'm the least humble person in the world.
Really?
I'm not humble at all.
Gotcha.
I should be. It's something I need to work on.
Yeah.
I embrace the failures. I'm proud of the failures.
Yeah.
They're badges of honor.
Yeah.
It's like you read a book, you put it on the shelf, you're like, I read this book. Right? It's a badge. It's just, every failure is a badge. You've learned something great and you've moved on. If you fail at the same exact thing over and over again,
That's a problem.
then maybe you're stupid. I don't know. That's harsh, but you should learn from your failures. No, I think everyone should get out there and just take a risk. And if you fail, dust off.
Nice. Thanks, man.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you said. I'd rather take the journey and deal with the bumps along the way and go, I want to go down all the different streets and see all the houses, see all the things. So I couldn't even add more to that.
I would love to hear more, though.
About
A failure.
failures?
Yes.
Well, I think it is important to embrace all the failures. Me personally, I'm facing failures even today, right? I mean, if we're being transparent, I'm in a space where, and you can hear it in my voice, like I have to rebuild team, right? I have to really nurture Bloom right now because of where it's going. And I have failed many times since I opened on July 8th of last year in many areas. And they weren't bad failures, even when I speak of, building a new team. This isn't bad. So I even hate to use the word failure, but I learn. I'm inspired by my failures. I'm compelled to do more and be better because of my failures. And I mean, that's it, right? And I try not to let it, if we want to talk about the personal side of things, because another part of Bloom is the wellness component. Our foundation is rooted in wellness. And so when it comes to failures, we, as a human race, we tend to stress, and for me, knots in my stomach start happening. I just start getting flustered and anxiety. And I'm learning to be more calm and do more to deal with the failures and the stress in a more healthy way, in a positive, optimistic way. Right? I think it's important for all of us personally and professionally to find ways to deal with the failures and the stress. So that's another part of what I offer at Bloom.
So that's why I pushed you.
Yeah, you're at 10 months.
Yeah.
So like you should call your failures opportunities. Like every time there's a massive screw up, I almost sweared, then you need to dissect it, right? And it's an opportunity to learn. And everyone needs to come in and say, look at this massive failure. This is great. Here's how we don't do that again.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I pushed you on the question.
Thank you.
Because I wanted people to know what to expect when they come to Bloom, right? Because you have a way of delivering a truth that I experience, that truth that you carry in you in your place of business.
Thank you.
And so that's why I wanted to push you on that, because it's so resonant. And so to that, right, I want to shift a little bit and go back to the tension between love of people and community and profit making.
Right.
And so, because I feel that tension too, and I have, in the last 3 years, I've become like a real capitalist, and it bothers me sometimes. But
Let's talk about that.
yeah, let's talk about that, right? And this idea of not only raising money, but understanding formulas to leverage money to make more money, for the express purpose of helping people, right? That makes me feel, that assuages some level of guilt and discomfort that I have. But there is a tension, right, between wanting to help people, loving community, knowing what special things and masterpieces people have in them that need to come out, right? And working on that with people in community, while at the same time having to make money in order to do that and scale the ideas, right? And so I want to talk about, that if we can.
That's tough for me. I'm very curious and interested to know how you're
I think
that.
I mean, millions of people died, so I'm not saying it was a good thing. But the pandemic for businesses I think was one of the best things that's ever happened. And I know a lot of people failed and closed. Maybe circumstances, I can't say what they were, but it forced innovation, and it also forced an appreciation, at least in my industries, for the worker, for the team member, for the the barista, the counter worker, the waiter, the waitress, the chef, the cook. Like, all of a sudden, these jobs that people kind of look down upon, like, these are the people that are out there doing it. They're getting out there, they're wearing 3 masks, changing them every half an hour. They're doing it, and a level of respect sort of, it seemed, started to bloom. And people are now being paid a much better wage, although inflation's catching up to us. But I'm so happy to be able to have someone that works the counter at Haven Hot Chicken pull down $23 to $25 an hour. That like, when we set out, all my businesses, we want to pay people a living wage. We want to make sure that we offer 401k plans. We're working towards, some of the businesses have it, some of them don't, everyone having health care. I mean, in the industry I'm in, that's not something that happens. You're not a counter worker being offered health care, 401k plans. You're not having, the respect typically that you would have in a job where you throw a tie on and you carry a briefcase or a suit. And I think that change has been really big and positive, and the pandemic kind of brought that out. Like, hey, we need people to work service. We need people to be out there and doing all these jobs, and we have to treat them with respect, and we have to give them a living wage. We're constantly trying to figure out how we can pay people more.
Wow.
Because it's how you attract great people. People who know their worth, that want to be there, not just to punch a clock and be done at the end of the day, but to contribute something to the business, to enjoy what they're doing. They should be paid just as much as somebody who's sitting at a computer.
Nice.
It's a hard job.
It's tough. That's why I said it's been tough for me, because I'm trying to find ways to pay the bills and pay the people, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot. I invested my savings into this business. I didn't get grants. I did get one grant, one low-level grant from CEDF after I had to apply. But that in itself is a lot. It's time-consuming.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Grant writing and all that stuff. But I invested a lot of money into Bloom, my own money, and it takes money to make money, right? And it takes money to keep the train pushing through. And it's hard. It's been tough for me to take care of my team members in an appropriate, ethical, moral, conscious culture way, right? And then also do all the things that I want to do to make Bloom a beautiful space, right? So that's been tough. That's why I was curious to know, your take on it, because I still need to find ways to make more money outside of the product sales.
Yeah.
Right? Getting creative with that.
Or scaling in some way.
Scaling something, and that's why in the beginning when I mentioned events, I'm grateful for the events that Bloom has had the pleasure of hosting and or designing, because that has helped compensate for the loss of money not being, the money not being made in the gifting category.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? So.
Well, I so appreciate both of you all's candor and transparency and courage. And, I deem you both, just knowing your number of businesses and knowing just the proliferation of heart and soul that you put into your business and how it is just taken off. And so you're both incredibly successful to me.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And I was wondering, because I think we're going to wait 15 minutes for questions, correct? So we have 4 minutes left. My experience, and very much like you was, Alisha, I worked, and success was a result. wasn't the reason. And however, my experience has been the more success I experience, the more evil I see, right? And I am now, because of being deemed successful, in rooms with people who could care less about what I care about, and definitely care less about the people I care about. Yet I have to be in those rooms and sit at those tables. And so, and be in so this is community, right? And be in that community as well, right? So in a community that really don't like me, but they act like they do. And so I'm wondering, how are you dealing with, even though you have put out here that, you're still trying to make it. How are you dealing with the success? Have you put your arms around it? Because everyone talks about you, and I'm not even on social media. I've never been on social media, and
I'm overwhelmed with
Okay.
gratitude when it comes to that, because people say it, and I'm like, really? And I mean that, because again, lately, and I mentioned this to you, my tunnel vision has just been on the work, doing all the things, spending the time focusing and planning and executing. That is very important to me. All the extra bells and whistles is great. Obviously, it helps the business, but I want to offer a level of quality and excellence, and so that requires tunnel vision for me. As it relates to the success, I'm grateful, because that success means people are coming back to the space to buy, to support us, and us, right? It's not about me, and I always say that. It's about the local artisans and makers and the other talented visionaries, dreamers, doers that we have in the space, right? So I try not to get too caught up in all the talk, the good, the bad, the whatever you're gonna say. I just continue to do the work and do it with authenticity, and truth, and a little bit of humor, and some flair. But that's me, and that's who I am. And so, as far as the success part, I'm grateful for it. I embrace it, and I just want to continue doing the work so that I can see others experience success the way that I have and will continue to.
Thank you. Jason?
I don't consider myself successful yet. I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
Tell us more.
I got big plans.
That's right. You are very successful, though, extremely. But I understand what you mean.
Yeah,
when you
but
say
we
that.
all have our own personal,
Goals?
yeah. I don't know if I'll ever stop. I'm not planning on retiring.
Yeah.
I wanna keep, I enjoy my work. I enjoy being with people. I enjoy doing the things I do. I enjoy business development. I enjoy mentoring. I enjoy being a mentee. I enjoy stuff like this. I enjoy the arts. I'm on a bunch of different boards. I want to just be out there doing this stuff. So, but success, I'm not sure how to quantify it.
So then let me rephrase. What would a goal be that you've accomplished?
That I've accomplished?
Yeah.
I mean, I've started a bunch of businesses. That's,
That's what you set out to
yeah,
do.
I don't dwell on goals I've accomplished.
No.
That's in the past.
Okay.
I'm trying to think about the goals that are up ahead.
Okay.
And right now, because of the age of my children, a lot of them are focused on that, being a great father, because that's the hardest job I have. But, goals that I've accomplished they're gone.
Got it.
I didn't learn a ton from them. I learned from my failures.
Got it. Gotcha. Thank you. All right, we are at 15 minutes, and I know there hopefully are some questions, and I know there's a QR code on the back of a program, I believe. I'm a little at a disadvantage here. So if Tanya can help me with the question aspects of this, I hope our conversation inspires some questions. I'm sorry? I do. This is a little too high tech for me. No questions so far? All right. Would there be any questions in the audience? Can we do it the old-fashioned way? What's the hardest thing about starting a business?
For me, it was, because it was a combination of things, but I want to give you like factual response. For me, it was funding. It was funding. Battling between using my savings or taking the time to write grants or get a loan or a line of credit. Because I knew, the idea, I knew I could execute the concept, but if I wanted to start it a certain way, I needed a certain amount of money to do it. So for me, it was funding and going back and forth between using my own savings or, getting fundraising or loans, et cetera.
I would completely agree. You can spend all the time in the world creating a business plan, having all your ducks in a row, talking to the right type of people, finding locations, like all that stuff. But if you don't have funding, it's so hard, and getting funding is really difficult.
Right.
There are all these business gurus that are like, yeah, you just do this, do that. It's so easy. Don't use this as an excuse. Finding funding is very hard, and there's a lot of people out there that are taking advantage of people with funding, just absurd rates and things like that. So I would say find an awesome mentor if you're going to start a business and talk about funding first and foremost.
Yep.
I think for me, it's, because I'm more of a social entrepreneur, and working with community, and especially African-American communities that have been steeped in poverty. The most difficult thing is to convince people that they deserve the best that one should have. And so I spend a lot of time just on trust building while community building, and trying to counter the ways in which a racist system, and racism is the weapon of poverty. And so just in ways a racist system has created a psychic pain on a people such that most folks don't even believe they deserve dignity and beauty. And so that, for me as a social entrepreneur, is probably my biggest task, most difficult task.
Ask it out loud.
Questions here?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, we have 2 questions. Where are they? How do you continue to innovate your businesses and continue to create new goals for them in working towards them?
Do you want me to do this? I got that one. Most of the innovation that happens in my businesses right now are fueled by the teams that work in those businesses. We are constantly asking the question, how do we do this better? How do we do this faster? And today, the biggest question is, how do we make this easier for our guests? We've seen countless times where people just say, nah, it's too hard, I don't want it, and they walk away. So making things easy has been the new innovation for us. Embracing technology, which is something that I don't really like doing, but it's necessary. We often do reviews in my business, something I highly recommend all small businesses do or large, and we do skip reviews. And typically a skip review is when you review someone and you ask them to review their direct manager above them. And we get so many great ideas to innovate and change our business and make it a better workplace when we do those skip reviews. So that's a great way to key in on innovations.
Knowledge knowledge gain, skip reviews.
Skip reviews
Okay,
are
I'm gonna try that.
awesome. Yeah.
Nice. Similar to Jason, I, again, listen to my team members and allow an open space for them to communicate their creative ideas and suggestions and feedback, as well as from my community. Again, I'm always asking the community. I'm always observing the community members who enter the space. And I also have a review system. So I take that feedback, constructive criticism, like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly, I take it all, and I use that to formulate ideas and to uplift my vision for Bloom. And I'm constantly doing that without veering off on the path of where this is going, but I do take into consideration, you know, all the suggestions the feedback, the creative ingenuity from team members and community members.
I think for me, everything I've done has been people-centered. So I ask the people what they need, and I pivot to that. And secondly, I think very much like Jason and Alisha, like I'm more of a visionary, so I see the thing that I want to create, and then, you know, I actually see it, and I see it working, and then I go back and put those mechanics together. I put the pieces together based on what I saw. And so that is a way, one of creation and pivoting, but for the most part, for me, I just ask the people what they need.
Thank you. This is for all three. What is the best advice you would give the 20-year-old version of yourself?
Well, see, that's a tough question. Well, trying to think of what this person wants to hear. At 20 years old, you should be a 20-year-old living your life and enjoying your life. And I tell that to my 20-something-year-old team members, family, friends, etc. At 20, enjoy life. Be a 20-year-old, right? With responsibility. But if you are someone, and I'm talking to the person who asked this question and those of you listening, and also talking to my 20-year-old self, if you are compelled to do something, create something, build something, start a business at 20 years old, take it seriously, right? And plan and strategize so that you can build or create this venture or entity that it is you're trying to do. And I say that because at 20 years old, I was enjoying life. I was traveling the world and, you know, just out of college. And I also had some amazing ideas that I wish I would have focused on because it would have made what I'd like to think a great deal of money so that I would have been able to start Blooms many years ago, right? And help the people around me and in my communities. So that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self and any other 20-year-old right now.
Buy some Apple stock.
Buy some stock. Yeah, back
Just
then.
$5 a week. 20 years old. I don't know. It's an awesome question, but I have no regrets. Love the path I've been on. Love the successes. Love the failures, and keep it the same.
You know, at 20, you know, I had no plan. I had, you know, I graduated high school. I have no idea how I graduated high school because, you know, I hated school, but I loved to learn, and so at 20, I had no direction. And so what I would tell my 20-year-old self is that my presence in the world matters. Because I didn't think I really mattered. You know, my presence didn't matter in the world. That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Clock there.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. you want to any podcasts or books you recommend or activities to stay relevant?
You guys, you want me to,
I mean, I'm always soaking up information. I'm always reading. I'm always, when I am on my phone, if I'm not doing work, business-related stuff, I'm reading, I'm learning. I am just taking in information from many places. So I wouldn't necessarily give you one particular medium, but I think just staying knowledgeable, constantly learning in all areas. Not just the ones that particularly interest you.
I do a lot of driving from business to business, and I listen to books. I have ADD, and I can't sit down and read a book. I think about 1,000 things. So I do a lot of books, and I love this one book, and it's sort of a business book, but sort of isn't. It's called Legacy by James Carr. And it's about a New Zealand rugby team that most people have never heard of, but they're the most winningest team in sports in the world, and their culture is what makes them win. And I absolutely love that book, and I recommend it to everybody. It's short, it's fun, it's inappropriate at times, which makes it fun, and highly recommend that one. But if anyone wants to email me, I can send you a list of just too many books. I really think it's important that we all read all the time, or listen.
Yeah. So I read all the time, but I don't read business books or self-help books, and I'm not against them, but I get frustrated when I read them because the stuff I read I'm already doing, and I'm like, this person is making money off telling people something that I do naturally. So I stay away from that. I am reading now, which I love. It's called The Cross and the Lynching Tree. And I'm reading that, one, because it's what's my favorite theologian, James Cone, who wrote a classic called Black Liberation, Black Power. But I'm reading that because it centers me in terms of the work that I'm doing and hopefully the spirit-filled work that I'm doing, not only on myself, but hopefully infectious to other people. And it's a parallel between the crucifixion of Jesus and the lynching of black people, and how they're very much the same. And so, but it centers me around the work that I've been called to do, and I say called because it chose me. The work that I've been called to do as it relates to community and as it relates to business.
Are there any questions in the house? Any last questions? So this will be our last question. I'm coming for you.
Thank you, Mike. What's your why?
What was the question?
What is your why?
What is your
Oh,
why?
my goodness.
Family.
Like Charmaine.
I'm done.
Family.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said family. I tapped out.
My why is, and this is just naturally for me. I've always been a people person, and I thrive when others are thriving. And there's just something about enjoying being Miss Happy-Go-Lucky most of the time, especially considering all the crap going on in our world, right? Like, and people think it's a facade sometimes, but no, in order for me to think and keep my mental health, sane, I like to think positively and with this high energy, happy-go-lucky mindset. And I encourage others to move and groove like that. That's my why, really. Bloom is really a space that I am thriving in alongside the people who enter the space. So the why is so that we all can just be uplifted, even if it's for the moment or moments. Just try to be as optimistic as possible. So that's my why, for why I created Bloom, a place that really thinks about people, celebrates people, and is thoughtful about what we offer the people.
I think, and we're out of time. My why is because I want my life to count for something. I want it to count. And that is it. Alisha, Jason, good job, man. This was fun. I really appreciate spending time with y'all. Well done. Well done. Well done. Thank you all. I appreciate you being here. This was great. All right. We're
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.